And a very welcome. Pardon the late intro. It just shot me into the live. We are going through the season and the sign of Cancer. We're going to have a good time. We're going deep, 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 my friends. So let's get into it. I have a little bit of an outline created. We will bring it up on the screen. And here we go. Now, it is the fourth season of the solar year, starting in Aries, in the first month of spring. It is the second spoke or arm on the cardinal cross. Aries being the cardinal sign that starts us off in spring. Cancer being the cardinal water sign that brings us into summer. So we have that energy of bringing forth. Cancer is the sign of nature nurturing with its waters. The first quadrant of the zodiac being fire. Now we go into summer, which is earth. So it's nurturing that spark of life that was given to us at spring. And now we bring it into the bosom. It is the breast. It is the ribs, protecting the heart of the next sign, Leo. So it has that protective, motherly energy. Sometimes a hard shell and inner softness and sweetness, that sweet crab meat. The crab goes sideways when it walks, as the sun at the summer solstice goes from the stations, stops, becomes still at the solstice. The S and the T connotates stillness, because the sun at the solstice stops. On the top of the stick, it is stuck. The fire reaching the top. The full erection of the phallic. We have this played out in the myth of Osiris dying, and then Isis and Nephthys through a magical ritual taught to them by Hermes, Thoth, Mercury. The goddesses Isis and Nephthys, the dark and the light of the sacred feminine, are transformed into beautiful flying kites, this swallow-tailed bird, and they do a magical dance up the fashioned staff of Hermes, the phallic, where birth to the sun anew, Horus. The birth of Horus would be at the beginning of Leo, at the front of the lion's paw. It is the lion's paw grip that brings the initiate out of the tomb in the Masonic initiation rituals. Don't come and kill me. I'm not a Mason. But I know how the story of the sun's progression through the heavens yearly is played out in ritual and ceremony and initiation rituals. The god Tammuz son of Nimrod. The Hebrew name for this month is Tammuz, which is about the god of fertility, who is venerated. Yea, the very name of the month is given to, in Hebrew, even though it's an enemy to Yahweh, it's opposing energy, which goes to the two gods on the poles. One god is Orion, the giant, the hunter, Nimrod, Osiris. The other god opposite to it is Ophiuchus, the serpent bearer, that we find above Scorpio, ruled by Mars, who is Samael, who is the angel that Isaac wrestles and becomes Yaakov. It is the constellation Orion, is John the Baptist. The feast of the Nativity, the birth of John the Baptist, happens at the summer solstice. Traditions pre-Christian were lighting bonfires and jumping over it, leaping over it, as the sun leaps over the Tropic of Cancer, the top of the year, top of a mountain, is where these bonfires were held. The sun is at its top of its power. So the leaping over the fire is referred to when the angel comes to Mary, and then Mary goes to the mother of John the Baptist and tells her about the pregnancy, and John the Baptist leaps in the womb. John the Baptist, the constellation Orion, Orion's belt, John the Baptist loincloth. John the Baptist, who lives off of milk. Why? Because Orion is next to the Milky Way, which is next to the constellation Eridanus, which is translated into the river Jordan. Jordan. J is a new addition. He's got his hand out, sometimes holding a sword, a Zion, the seventh letter of the Hebrew alphabet, of which the chariot card representing Cancer is found. Sword in his hand, and then in his belt, in the belt of Orion, the short sword, of reference to the phallic Orions. Below it, we find the stars Sirius, who is Isis, and Nephthys, who is Procyon, the greater and lesser dog constellations. Dogging Orion, following Osiris in his casket down the river. Isis and Nephthys are blinking stars. Nephthys is darker and blurry. Isis, Sirius, is the brightest star in the night sky, shining blue and white, the colors of the flag of Israel, in their temples, because it is the womb Cancer. And it is the breast that feeds the newborn and nurtures the newborn infant with the milk of the Milky Way, of the mother. It is a time of year for us to nurture ourselves, and it's where nature gives us its highest expression of its nurturing life. The dew in the morning, pre-Christian ceremonies and rituals, the virgins would go and roll in the morning dew. It being likened to the sexual creative fluids that come from the phallic. This is going to have to be a PG 18, an R-rated video. That's stupid. The ancient myth holds that from the short sword of Orion comes the Milky Way, together with the blood from the back of the bull that is stabbed, Taurus. Orion, the lumberjack, the hunter, what's the name of that myth with, he's got his bull, freaking the lumberjack. I can't believe I'm forgetting his name. Oh well. Jack? No. Jack jumping over the candlestick. Jack is John the Baptist. John, in the constellation of Cancer, we have the constellation of the beehive cluster. Hence, John the Baptist eats honey. And the Milky Way. Milk and honey, the land of milk and honey, at the top of the pole. The freaking Cancer and Capricorn, the spine of our Earth, the axis mundi. And around that spine is the serpent, the snake. Across from Orion, the man, the hunter of Earth, we find Ophiuchus, who wrestles with the serpent. The Ophites were named after Ophiuchus, the serpent worshippers or serpent bearers. And it's the idea of raising the sexual energy up this spine, up the sword, up the staff, just like Isis and Nephthys. The Isis is the Virgin Mary. Nephthys is Mary Magdalene, the two Marys at the tomb weeping for Jesus in his passion. Ophiuchus above the constellation Scorpio, associated with passion, desire, sex. Ophiuchus is literally riding a serpent. In one hand, he has the head, serpent's caput, and then the other, the tail. And really what this goes to is about controlling our primal mechanical nature and to channel that energy and to raise it up spiritually. The transmutation of material into spirit. There's a picture. So Ophiuchus, the giant opposite to Orion, Ophiuchus is doing the sacred sexual work. As opposed to, which happens when the sun is not, when the sun's in Ophiuchus, the sun is not at its greatest. It's wintertime. It's going into wintertime. Here he's in some images he's got it actually between his legs. And Scorpio to Sagittarius, that area is the more spiritually inclined part of the year because it's darker. This website sucks. We have the twins, this idea of Ophiuchus and Orion. Orion versus Ophiuchus. One says John the Baptist says, I must decrease so that he might increase. When Orion decreases, Ophiuchus increases. When Nimrod increases, Israel decreases. When Jacob increases, Esau decreases. Orion and Ophiuchus are both constellations that straddle the celestial equator. Orion is underneath the zodiac. Ophiuchus above it. Hence, one is seen as more earthly. Esau, the firstborn, the precursor, John the Baptist, the ruddy one with hairy skin, who works the field, who sells out his firstborn right to the secondborn, Ophiuchus, who wrestled the serpent, Israel. Bam! Yo, why are we just tearing this apart? There's an image where he's got it going between his actual buttocks coming out. That one's kind of graphic. By William Blue. Johannes Kepler did one. That's his. See him stepping on the back of the Scorpio? He's rised above that scorpionic nature, and he's using that passion, that desire towards devotion to the sacred feminine. To get through Isis, you have to be pure. To enter into Isis's gates, you have to die. And when you die, you're brought into Nephthys, the lady of the night, the dark twin of Isis, the lady of the day, the day star. In the Temple of Temples is where you have to go through the sexual initiation rituals, but become a man. Where you're birthed into a soul, spirit. Which is how the temple priestesses would initiate candidates, or I guess, into the mysteries through dancing like a snake. And the male, Ophiuchus, is known as the snake charmer. It's at the bottom shaft, while the tip of it is the Cancer. The bottom part of it, Capricorn. The womb and the tomb. The great pole. Right now, Ophiuchus takes up the night sky. And we don't see Tammuz. After Tammuz is gone from the sky, it starts the 40 days of fasting. When Lent starts, starting with Ash Wednesday. The weeping of the Marys at the tomb, it's the stars flicker like they're crying. Nephthys, Procyon, who precedes Isis, the two twins, they're close to each other in the constellation of Cancer, the mother and the maiden, the virgin and the whore, the prostitute, Mary Magdalene, Nephthys, the lady of the night, the keeper of the inn, the inner sanctum sanctum. It got turned into something of being a prostitute, but it's a priestess. the virgin priestess of the temple that was reserved for the king to become queen of heaven, home fittingly to the moon. Now the moon, with its very motions and emotions and mood swings, is something that the Cancerian has to deal with. But we also have Jupiter exalted at Cancer. We have the sun in its highest point, the solstice of summer found at the beginning of the season of the crab of Cancer. The sacred scarab in Egypt, it looks like a Mercedes logo without the circle around it, the constellation. Almost like a peace sign. Almost like the top of a scarab. Scarab, amulet, constellation, Cancer. The scarab, an amulet shaped like the dung beetle, was a primary symbol of regeneration. Look at the top. Maybe not so much on that one. But you get also the top of our head looks like that, our skull. And there's the scarab holding the sun up on the summer solstice, nurturing its young, showing off your creation, the flower at the peak of its blossom, where the king is crowned. And then it goes off into its kingdom to survey, to take care of it. Hence the Chariot card. We even have a constellation, the Charioteer, which is near the Milky Way, which is near in the northeast. We're near Cancer. In the near the northern pole, going around the North Pole. Now, see, we have in the Chariot card, we have the black and white sphinxes. Isis, the lady of the day, the sphinx of night. In the foundation of the Kabbalistic tree of life, we have Yesod, which is the moon, in charge of liquids, waters, our sexual waters. When we very closely tie with our emotional mind, our emotional body, when we could control that through a balance of the four elements, through spiritualizing the material by balancing the moon's motion, see on the shoulders, happy and sadness, through the middle, crowned with the 8-pointed star, the 8 spokes of the wheel of the year, crowned with Chet. The 8 crowns the 7, the 7 crowns the 6. Zion means crown, sword, sword and sustenance, which is, it has an idea of like, well, from our spiritual warfare, we are fed energy. And we're given energy right now to continue to go out boldly and strong in our spiritual warfare. Nimrod is said to have built the Temple of Babylon during this time, which is the pole to the north, the phallic again. God, I lost all my tabs. Oh, here we go on Nimrod. Nimrod is seen as the proud fool king. The fool card in the tarot is the constellation Orion, is Nimrod. Called Kessel in Hebrew, which means proud. The Bible states that Nimrod was a mighty hunter before the Lord and began to be mighty in the earth. Orion. Some traditions held that he commissioned the construction of the Tower of Babel or Jacob's Ladder. It's ruled by the letter Het. The tarot card, the Chariot, which is a combination of Zion 7 and Vav 6, which is the idea of the male and the feminine coming together. The pictograph looks like a fence. The 8th letter, which holds the 7th, the Zion. See, the 9 holds the 8, and very interesting. That the Hebrew letters are said to create the constellations. Sight is related to this sign because Orion, in this time of year, the sun is the highest in the sky, so the longest days. So it's that all-seeing eye kind of comes into play. It's near the north. The North Pole is often the all-seeing eye. But it's also related to kind of boastfulness and more the material than the spiritual, which is the idea of building the tower without God. It's the hill of Cancer as opposed to the hill of Capricorn, which is the mount of the goat, the mount upon which the goat is sacrificed, the scapegoat. Nimrod saw in the sky a piece of black cloth and a crown. Here we have that idea of crown again. He's allegedly the first king to wear a crown. For this reason, people who knew nothing about it said that a crown came down to him from heaven. This is all astral mythological. There is Zoroaster is made to be the same person as Nimrod. I bet you Zoroaster is just another thing for Orion. He was a son of Noah, which is also not real people. Rabbi Eliezer relates the Jewish traditions that Nimrod inherited the garments of Adam and Eve that would be coming after Cancer, the lovers. And Gemini, the lovers, actually. So Nimrod inherits the garments of Adam and Eve from his father Cush, and that made him invincible. Esau ambushed and beheaded and robbed Nimrod. This is the idea of the stealing of the crown at the summer solstice. The god of the oak tree versus the god of holly of winter. The Hungarian legend of the enchanted stag has Nimrod in it. Nimrod the giant. In Jewish and Islamic traditions, the confrontation between Nimrod and Abraham is said to have taken place. A confrontation of good versus evil. It's this idea of Ophiuchus versus Orion, the man who's doing the good, the holy great work, versus the man who's just plowing the field. Semiramis, the wife of Onus, hence Ionis is Janus. A mythological Assyrian king. He is said to have committed suicide, after which his widow married Ninus. Interesting. Oh, she might have even been, no. While the achievements of Semiramis are clearly in the realm of mythical Persian or Armenian historiography, there was a historical Shamaramat. Interesting. From the Caucasus Mountains, Iran. Ooh. Yeah, I'm all about resurrecting these stuff. What do we have? Well, I didn't prepare for that too much, but we got one viewer. Yay. Live. Okay. The Masons love St. John's Day. June 24th, Freemasons historically celebrate two feasts of saints who were both named John. John the Evangelist, winter solstice, December 27th. John the Baptist. We also have the feasts of Saint, or the commission of Paul and Peter, because it's that idea of going out and evangelizing after being crowned, going out on the chariot into your kingdom. Popular for cornerstone laying ceremonies. This relates to the god Daedalus. He was a skillful architect and craftsman, seen as a symbol of wisdom, knowledge, and power. They sent up the constellation. They sent up a satellite named one named Osiris into explore the Orion constellation, because knowing that Orion is Osiris. In NASA, they use these names all the time for what they do. I think there's a bunch of like magicians. NASA. Never a straight answer. The Beehive cluster located in the constellation Cancer, in case you didn't believe me before. I don't know why you wouldn't. Doop, 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 doo. All right. Got covered a lot. All right, my lovers. It's interesting that if it is Mercury, Gemini, through its glyph, which is the two pillars, through the archway of Gemini, we're brought by the messenger of the gods to the summer solstice of Cancer, to the temple of the twin goddesses, Isis and Nephthys, where the king Orion is crowned, where the 6 is crowned with the 7, where the penis becomes fully erect and ejaculates. I'm sorry to make everything sexual, but that's really a lot of what is mapped out in the heavens is really the life and the death of life and death. And what are we doing between then? Sex. And gestation. It's kind of the insemination. And then 6 months from now, the sun is born in Capricorn. There's like 3 births during the year. Yeah, because fall, the beginning of fall is called fall for a reason, because the sun falls. It dies. It's not a birth. But it's also, but Scorpio in the middle of fall is about death and rebirth. So there's different deaths, and there's physical death, there's emotional death, identity deaths. But right now really is an energy of being filled, nurtured through nature to bring us forward into the year. How beautiful. Beautiful. That is a reflection on the season of Cancer. I hope you appreciate it. I'll go through perhaps and edit out my pauses. I paused. I just brought up some tabs and then I lost some this morning as I wanted to do this. So forgive me for those pauses, those who suffered through the live. Well, we'll do an edit and perhaps put this out.